Hello everybody and welcome back to Inside China Auto. Last time on this channel we brought you a car that was a collaboration between a Chinese car company and one of China's largest tech companies. And this week we're doing the exact same thing. This behind me here is the AITO M5. AITO stands for Adding Intelligence to Auto, and that's exactly what is going on here. This car is built by Ceres, a Chinese car maker. It's based on one of their cars called the SF5 that they actually still sell. However, adding the intelligence to the auto is everybody's favorite 5G provider, Huawei. That's right, they're providing the tech smarts in this car, including things like cameras, sensors, the Huawei Harmony OS operating system inside, and the electric motors inside this car. Now, it's not a full electric vehicle. What it is an extended range electric vehicle. That means under here, there is a 1.5 litre, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that's not connected to the wheels. The engine essentially only charges the 40 kilowatt hour battery in the middle of the car, and the battery drives the energy to the motors which powers this car. So, before we get started, let's take a look at it. Right, so here at the front of the M5, you'll see that things are actually pretty simple. It's a very round front end. You get these trapezoidal headlamps with a kind of iconic arc-shaped running light here. You get vertical running lights down the side as well, different from those on the Ceres SF5, which sort of curve around the front here. But other than that, the defining feature is this huge grille here, which of course provides air to the engine. But other than that, it's fairly nondescript, apart from the silver AITO badge in the middle. Now here at the side, you'll find that rounded shape from the front continues in the side profile. It actually looks pretty similar, I would say, to a Porsche Macan in terms of its side profile. But other than that, it's fairly nondescript. You get a crease here, a horizontal crease along the waist, which is not very deep. You also get a slight one down there at the bottom. It's mainly designed for aerodynamics, I would say. You get these 20-inch alloys here on the flagship version, then 19-inch on the other versions. They're designed for aero, as are the pop-out door handles that you press to get into the car. Okay, so here at the rear, you get probably the most distinctive part of the M5 design, which is this full-width LED light bar that curls around on the ends. It sits on this black plastic panel that has AITO lettering built into it. That's pretty sharp. But that rounded theme from the rest of the car continues here. Other than that, it's fairly nondescript. We have got a bit of damage here on our test car, unfortunately. The thing I really don't like is this black plastic down at the bottom here. It feels cheap. It doesn't really look like a diffuser, so it's kind of losing the premium image of the car. To get into the back though, you do have an electrically operated boot lid, which you press underneath the wiper. In here, you have 369 litres of space, 776 if you put the seats down. I would say that's probably below the class average, so it's not massive in there, but it's big enough. One trick it does have though is a 220 volt outlet. So this car is capable of vehicle to load, V2L, which means you can plug in anything there that you would plug in at home. So if you're going out with a paddleboard, for example, you can blow up your paddleboard. If you have an electric barbecue, you can plug it in here. It's pretty useful if you want to take the car traveling. So it's time to try the car out. Let's get inside. So here we are in the interior of the M5, and the first thing to notice is that the whole of this interior is coated in Nappa leather. Fortunately, we've got a nice light color here. We've got this tan, which I quite like. They also comes in white and in black, but it's everywhere. It's on the top of the doors, top of the dash, all the way from top to bottom, even down here and on the door pockets, the place where you normally find the cheap plastics in your car are covered in this Nappa leather. The door pockets even have a velvet material inside, which makes it feel super premium. Now, the defining feature of the interior is, of course, this 15.6-inch LCD display in the middle here. And this is running on Huawei's Harmony operating system, which essentially means it's just like a mobile phone for the inside of your car. You can download apps onto this. You can play your music, you can even play videos, not while you're driving. You can download games, you can store photographs on here. There's a camera in here actually, so you can take selfies with your friends while you're driving. Of course, you've got your maps, you can do screen mirroring as well. And there's actually a feature in this car where you can have the maps on your phone get into the car and they will automatically ping onto the screen, which is a really, really neat feature. Other than that, the interior is quite a minimalist place to be. AITO have kept things very simple in here, very Tesla-like in that respect. You've got under the screen, you have your ventilation here, which doesn't have physical controls. You have to control them via the ventilation system on the screen. You can actually waggle your finger around to change the direction of the different vents, or you can set it to swing where it will blow the air around in a sort of a circular motion anyway. In the center here, you've got this Huawei supercharger that will charge at 40 watts. That's more than twice the amount of a normal wireless charger, so you can do it pretty quick through here. If that's not fast enough for you, you can get 66 watts via the USB-C chargers here, and of course in the back as well. You've got a large cup holder here and an additional 2 in the center console here. This one's pretty big. Maybe you want to put a plant in there. It also comes with Huawei sound. That means you get 15 speakers all around the car, in the doors, in the pillars, and one on the dashboard there with a nice little hat on it. You also get 4 here in the driver's headrest, and these basically feed you information. They feed the driver information from the system. Things like the maps, you can get your navigational directions through here in a way that doesn't disturb other passengers in the car from whatever it is that they're enjoying. And letting light into the cabin, but not today because there's a cover on here, there is a huge panoramic roof, which is probably about 1.2, 1.3 meters long, and it basically livens up the entire cabin with light. These seats, they don't have the biggest of bolsters on them, let's be honest, but they do have heating, ventilation and massage functions, and in the back 2 seats on the outside you can also get heating function as well. You also get these pretty nifty pillows, which are great to sit behind your neck, very comfortable. Steering is adjustable for reach and rake, which is great. You get a little pocket in here, and of course a cubby in the center. Let's check out the back. Right, here in the back of the M5 you can see that we've actually got a lot of legroom. It's really quite spacious in front. I'm 5'10" and I've got plenty of legroom here with a decent amount of support under my thighs as well. Also headroom is pretty good because of the panoramic roof. Again, you get your leather all over the place here. You get individual vents, 2 vents here in the center for rear passengers, as well as 2 USB slots down there. Decent sized door pocket, cup holders. There are 2 in here. That came out quite conveniently. You get an armrest and a little pocket there in the center. As I said, these seats also have a heating function in the back, although I believe you have to talk to the car to get them to run. But you get these microphones here in the car for all the outside or the exterior passengers, 4 microphones in the car, so you can essentially say, "Shall you give me some heat for my seat?" Right, so it's time to take the M5 out for a drive. Let's go and see what this car is capable of. Right, so as I mentioned in the intro, this car is an extended range electric vehicle, which means that it comes with an engine, but it's not connected to the wheels. That engine produces 125 horsepower, but that's completely useless because you don't feel it on the wheels. It's only there to recharge the battery that sends electricity to the motors, which are provided by Huawei. It comes in 2 variants. You can get a rear-wheel drive only version, that's the base edition. That comes with a 200 kilowatt motor on the rear, 272 horsepower, 360 newton meters of torque. There are 2 versions that come with motors on the front and rear axles. That's 200 kilowatts on the back and 165 on the front. Or, confusingly, on the Performance Edition, you get 150 kilowatts on the rear motor and 165 on the front, which suggests that it would be more front-wheel drive oriented. I don't know why that would be on the Performance Edition, and we haven't had a chance to drive it. However, that one does come with more torque. That comes with 720 newton meters combined between the 2 motors, compared to 660 for the other editions. This being an extended range electric vehicle means that you get all the benefits of an electric car, so that linear acceleration and the silence as well. However, you also get an extended range, so more than you would normally get in a battery vehicle, because you have a fuel tank. This car has a 56 litre fuel tank, and combined with that 40 kilowatt hour battery means you can get over 1,100 kilometers or 683 miles of range out of this car. That you can also get between 150 and 200 kilometers, depending on which edition you get, of EV only range. So if you're driving around town a lot and you're just plugging the car in, you might never actually have to fill the fuel tank, but it means that you have the comfort of adding fuel if you ever need to drive outside of the city and do a longer run. Prices for this car range from between 259,800 RMB, that's about $38,700, to 331,800 RMB, which is just under $50,000, which means that in China it's a particularly good value car when compared to other models like the Mercedes-Benz GLC, for example. Right, one of the cool features of this being an electric car means that you get super rapid acceleration. In this car, the flagship model, you can get a 0 to 100 km/h time, or 62 miles per hour in English money, of just 4.4 seconds. That drops down to 7.8 for the rear-wheel drive version. However, 4.4 is really impressive for a car that weighs 2.3 tons. Now, to achieve that, you can go into the settings of the car and change it from a different function. So this is the eco mode, which means that it tunes everything down and extends the range as much as possible. You can change it to comfort mode, which is another step up. You can put it in sport, which gives you that really racy little sound there. Or you can go into custom mode, and in custom mode you can change your acceleration to hyper, which sounds brilliant. You can also change here your regenerative braking, make it stronger so you can do a bit of one pedal driving, and of course you can change the steering between comfort and sport, though I have to say I don't really see much difference between either of them. They're both pretty soft by European standards, more tailored for a Chinese audience. But let's put it in hyper. And get ready to do a quick 0 to 60 sprint on this street. So, you ready? 3, 2, 1. And it picks up so quick, it puts you right back in your chair, and there is 100 km/h, which is insane. It's amazing how fast this thing goes. It really puts a smile on your face. One of the key benefits, of course, of electric cars is the silence of the drivetrain, but some people at Huawei weren't quite satisfied with that. They wanted to add a little bit of extra sound. So if I go into the settings here, I've actually got a simulated engine sound noise, and I can turn that on and you'll hear what it sounds like. So it even changes gears and also blips on the downshift. I can make that a bit more meaty by going for the middle option, which is alright. Or I can put it into the tech mode, which makes it sound a bit like something out of a sci-fi movie. Now, I did ask the Huawei salesperson if anybody actually uses these settings, and his opinion is they probably don't. It's more for fun. Nevertheless, it's an interesting idea. Right, let's talk dimensions then. So this car is 4.77 meters long, 1.93 meters wide, and 1.66 meters tall. It comes with a 2.88 meter wheelbase, which is actually bigger than the car's bigger brother, the M7. It means that you get a pretty vast cabin in here. There's loads of space, front and rear. Nobody's going to be complaining about space in this car. Right, let's talk a little bit about the ride and handling of this car. I think it absorbs bumps fairly comfortably. There's no clattering, there's no sort of harsh bumps over the larger speed bumps or potholes, and it absorbs smaller vibrations quite well as well. We've got some small speed bumps on this road, and they're barely perceptible. In terms of handling though, the boss of AITO actually wanted this car to be comparable to a Porsche Macan GTS, and while I can't say that it's probably matched it in that sense, in terms of performance, because of that electric drivetrain, it probably does. I'm just testing it here around a few of the tighter corners, and it's throwing water bottles all over the place. The steering is very light. Yeah, I wouldn't say super engaging. However, it's got a pretty sure footing, I would say. It does seem to lean a little bit when you accelerate out of a corner. You feel the back of the car drop down as the power comes through. But overall, a pretty good performance. One of the cool features on this car, you get double glazing on the front and the rear. So exterior sounds are pretty well muffled out of the way. It's also pretty well built. I mean, there's no creaks. If you move all the dashboard around, if you try and press the doors, you don't get that sort of creaky plastic feel that you often get with the dashboard. Maybe it's because it's covered in leather, so you don't get anything to rub on things, but it's pretty well built. Vibrations, as I said, are pretty decent. Let's go over this bump here. So that was a metal plate with kind of rods welded to it, and it soaked those up really well. So no issues on ride quality. I love that acceleration. How great is that? It's a car that I would probably enjoy owning, simply for the acceleration to put a smile on my face. Overall, cabin ambience is really nice. It's certainly better. It's helped by this tan leather, which lifts the brightness of the cabin a bit. We would get a bit more light in here if it weren't for this sort of aftermarket roof sun blind that we have in place here. In terms of advanced driving assistance systems, this car comes equipped to level 2, so not quite as high maybe as some of its rivals. It does come with a variety of sensors. There's no LiDAR on there. However, you will get the option to do adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist, as well as lane centering assist. So it will help you stay between the lines and will allow you to just keep your fingers mildly held on the steering wheel when you're driving down the motorway. So what do we think about the AITO M5? Well, I have to say, I'm genuinely impressed. For a car that looks so unassuming, certainly doesn't look like a sports car, it actually does feel like one, especially in terms of its performance. It's also really luxurious inside, comes with all the tech smarts from Huawei, a great operating system, some great little features that you can use inside there as well. It's not too bad a looking car. It's not super exciting, but it actually looks all right. So I would give it a thumbs up, especially for AITO's first effort. This is a really nice car, and I look forward to seeing what they'll come up with in future.